It's time to go beyond their years. Hello and welcome to Beyond Their Years. I'm Aidan Gula.
And I'm Stanley Gula.
And we are here to introduce our favourite retro music and movies to a new generation.
And in this episode, we're talking 80s movies.
Okay, so we are back for Season 2. Well, we're calling it Season 2. Basically, we couldn't be asked to record for a long time, and now we're back to do more. So, yeah, it's Season 2. We've got a new logo. I'm going to put a new intro on this, which you've already heard by now. So, technically, yeah, we're going into Season 2. We're rebooting our own podcast, and to kick off with 80s movies. The aim of this episode will hopefully be to establish 5 essential movies from the 80s that you must see. Do not do that again. That was so loud.
Sorry.
You see a lot of lists out there of the essential 80s blockbusters or whatever, and they'll all be very much of a muchness. So we thought, well, we take those, and of course you will see those lists, and of course there'll probably be similar films on this list, but we wanted to put more of a personal touch on it and put films on that you wouldn't necessarily see on these essential lists, because there are a lot of gems that might go underrated or not appreciated as much, and we are here to say, stand back, top 10 lists.
Watch Mojo.
Watch Mojo. Yeah, Watch Mojo. Stand back. We are here to say, here are the 5 essential 80s movies. Okay, so how do you want to go about this one then?
Well, we're going to do both our lists, aren't we?
Is that how you want to do it?
And merge them.
Yeah, because we've both put together a list of 5,
Mm-hmm.
and what we want to do at the end of this episode is collate 5. So we're going to debate and say, I don't think that should be on the 5 essentials.
No.
So we can go through. Yeah, we could do this our classic style, how we did this in Series 1, Episode 1 with our introductions episode, where we listed our top 5 favourite films. What else did we do? Films, bands and songs, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Episode 1. And then Episode 3, we just talked what our first bands were. Yeah, that's our best episode by far. Episode 2 was the other one we did the top 5, because we did James Bond films. Yeah, that was it. Okay. So top 5 is our essential format then. So sure, go ahead with top 5 favourite 80s movies that you think are essential for viewers out there. The reason I think I wanted to do this one is because a lot of people out there go, I love the 80s, but half the time they've never actually seen a film from the 80s besides probably Breakfast Club.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot of people out there who go, I love the 80s, especially whenever Stranger Things comes out. Every time there's a series of that, and Topshop do a range of 80s style t-shirts, people go, the 80s. And it's like, oh, do you like Back to the Future? And they're like, Back to the what? And I'm like, you don't love the 80s.
Yeah. But then I think Back to the Future is one of the ones that people do see. It's usually Back to the Future, Breakfast Club, Ghostbusters. This is not my list, by the way. This is one people usually have seen. Back to the Future, Breakfast Club, Ghostbusters. They're the 3 people normally have seen.
Yeah, but I know a lot of people that haven't even seen Ghostbusters or Back to the Future.
Well, they deserve a bullet in the head.
So this is designed for those people, those peeps, to say, hey, you, stop being an 80s poser and listen and watch these movies. It's only 5.
So I'm going to do my top 5 now.
Okay. No particular order, just...
Well, I put them in an order, actually.
Okay, I haven't got mine in an order, but go ahead.
But what I'm going to say, I've got like one from the kind of early 80s, latter 80s, mid 80s, and all kind of different genres. So I've got action, I've got like, different type of genres.
Yeah.
So my number 5, which is a bit arty-farty, Once Upon a Time in America.
Okay. Which one is that? I know the title.
Robert De Niro.
That's it.
1984. One of the mafia films, but it's...
What makes it arty-farty? I think I've seen it, but I don't remember it.
No, you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it. That'll be why I don't remember it then.
What makes it arty-farty is that it's about 24 hours long. It's a very long film. Really long.
Who did it?
Who did it?
Yeah.
I'm not pretty sure about that
Oh, I
one.
thought it was going to be a Scorsese one. That's
No, I
why
don't think.
said
I think
so.
I think it's one that isn't Scorsese actually,
Oh, a Robert De Niro mafia film that isn't Scorsese
with Joe Pesci in it.
with Joe Pesci.
So it's like, you know what I mean. But I don't think it's probably won't make it in our top 5 combined. But I think it's a good one.
Yeah, it's an honourable mention, as
Yeah.
Watch Mojo would say.
Honourable mention, but it is good, and I think you should watch it if you have a week to spare, because it will take you that long to probably watch it.
Yeah, I was about to say, if anybody's seen The Irishman and wants to see more, but nobody saw The Irishman, did they? It takes too long.
This is just the earlier version.
Yeah.
But it's actually quite a good film. It takes a very long time to get going. Well, not get going, but you know what I mean. It's just very long. And
3 hours in, it's still the credits.
Yeah, it's just very long, but it's arty-farty, and if you like mafia films or anything like that, it's quite good. And number 4, I've got 2 that could go in this place, so I don't know if I should mention both of them or just one of them.
Pick your best one. It's top 5, not top 6.
Yeah, I know, it's hard though, isn't it? So anyway, I'm going to put Withnail and I in here, another arty-farty one. A British one.
Yeah, you're going for a real high class sort of one, aren't you? Like mine are just like CGI, and yours is
it's just a good British film.
Yeah,
you know, it's iconic as well for a certain person. It's a cult classic.
Cult classic.
That's the right word for it.
It's a staple of, I'm going to say, art house British culture as well. So it's like if you look at, you know, any of these sort of, I was about to say, if you look at these British lists, what British lists? I don't even know what I'm talking about. But if you're looking at things that are considered big and British, you've obviously got Beatles and things like that. But then if you look down at more arty, studenty sort of 80s cool stuff, that will always be on there.
Yeah, it's a very good film. Not really a lot happens in it.
Yeah.
But that's the beauty of it. So that's my number 4. Number 3 is where I go a little bit more mainstream.
Okay.
And it's Die Hard.
Die Hard.
Die Hard 1. The best Die Hard.
Oh, of course.
You will get worse after that, so it's always good to
progressively worse.
Yeah, it's always good to start with that one. It just sums up 80s action films, really, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Bruce Willis against, Bruce Willis as a American cop who's going against a nasty German, played by a British man, because all villains are British in American films. But in this case, he's actually German, played by a British guy. Guns, catchphrases,
yep.
Damsel in distress. What more do you want? And it's set at Christmas. What more do you want?
It is also the best Christmas film.
Yes, if you count it as a Christmas film.
It is a Christmas film, but it's got the perfect kind of 80s cheese, but also a seriousness to it.
Yeah,
which is what you want from an action film in the 80s. Number 2 is a personal favourite of mine, and it's The Lost Boys.
Oh yeah, getting very similar with my list now.
That's just
80s soundtrack.
Yeah,
80s fashion sense, 80s plot. Do you know what I mean?
It's what you want.
Yeah.
If the 80s was a film, I'd say it was that. I mean, it starts off with a man greased up playing the saxophone or something, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So
it's that, yeah. There's whole scenes on fairgrounds, big, traps, Home Alone style traps at the end, and
it's great. It's really good.
You've got Cry Little Sister as the main theme song. It's like a synth sort of goth masterpiece song.
Very good. Yeah. And my number 1, Back to the Future.
Back to the Future, of course.
It's just got to be, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Puffer jacket.
Again, it's typically 80s, isn't it? Everything from what he's wearing to he's skateboarding around and saying cool 80s catchphrases, even though off the top of my head I can't actually think of any right now.
I'm not chicken.
Don't call me chicken.
Yeah. I've got...
Travels back in time, meets his mum, gets a bit weird at that point. That's
very wrong, but...
And, it wouldn't really fly today. It wouldn't really McFly today. But... yeah.
Yeah, and Biff as well. It's just iconic, isn't it?
Yeah. There's nothing to say about Back to the Future. You can't go, guys, I've heard of this really cool film. It's called Back to the Future, because we all know it's a classic. So much so that Bob Zemeckis obviously directed it. He says, while I'm alive, I will never commission a remake. He's like, this film is just... I mean, he's let a musical happen for varying reasons. And I think there was a TV show as well, like a cartoon TV show that happened. But he would never let a remake happen.
Rightly so.
No.
I'm sick of the remakes.
Especially in this time when everything's a remake. Everything is getting a remake. Think of something, probably getting a remake.
Even remakes are getting remakes.
Yeah.
Now.
Even Scarface, which was a remake anyway, is getting a remake of the remake.
It's gone.
So Back to the Future will remain untouched.
But going back to the list, I mean, I didn't really say much about them. There wasn't really much to say.
No, but that's the point. We'll go along here, because what I've got a list of the 5 that I think are the essential 80s films.
Mm-hmm.
And then I sort of have a reserve list and then honourable mentions here. Because one of the things is you can throw in and go, obviously, I'm going to say straight away, is Withnail and I, and what was it, Once Upon a Time in America, would not be on my list. Because for varying reasons, I think they cater more to a niche market. Withnail and I is, like I said, art house, student-y sort of cool film. And I think to a mass market, like you said, well, you even said, not a whole lot happens. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because there's a lot of films where not a whole lot happens. I really like Clerks, the Kevin Smith film, which is just people in a shop for an hour and a half in black and white talking. That's all the film is. But it's a great film. But it's like, if you just go, I want to watch this for fights and action, or I want to see this for varying reasons, and you just sort of basically get into people talking for a while, it's not going to satisfy a large market, is it?
No.
So I think really... Especially the aim of this, like I said, is I'm aiming this at your top shop posers who are like, I love the 80s, but I've never seen a film from the 80s. And I'm thinking, really, those people, what's easier for them to digest? And yeah, Back to the Future is on my list. The Lost Boys is on my list. Die Hard's even on my list. Because they're 3 films that are easy to follow, simple concepts, big names in them. So those 3 are also on mine. But the 2 that replace them become Ghostbusters, of course. It's like my 5th favourite film of all time. Well, 6th or 7th. But it's in the top 10 anyway. Again, it's familiar people, fighting ghosts, cool catchphrases, a theme song that everybody knows. It's a classic film. It's brilliant. It's an essential one. Stranger Things homaged it.
Mm-hmm. There's
a lot of people going, I love that Ghostbusters scene. And going, do you like Ghostbusters? Never seen it. And I'm like, oh... Same with the Lost Boys, actually. Obviously, this real gets under my skin, the Stranger Things audience. Because I do really like Stranger Things, but I hate the audience for it. Because it is a bunch of posers. But there was an episode in Series 2, which was... The whole thing was supposed to be the Lost Boys. So Millie Bobby Brown's 11, goes off, and she starts wearing these gothic clothes and hanging out with these gothic people who've all got like sorts of powers and stuff. They're getting up to mischief and they're eating noodles out of pots. Does that sound familiar? Yeah, it's the Lost Boys. Yeah. And a lot of people were like going, oh, that episode was so boring. What was the point of it? I was like, well, it's the Lost Boys. It's supposed to be a homage to the Lost Boys. They were like, the Lost who? Are they those guys from Peter Pan? I was just like, oh my God. So yeah, that's the last thing I'm going to say about Stranger Things fans, because I could go off for a long time.
We should do a whole episode of a rant about Stranger Things fans. I also hate Stranger Things fans. I've never even seen Stranger Things, nor do I want to, because of it.
Stranger Things is really good, and I do really like it, but I just have to pretend the fan base don't exist, because they wind me up.
Anyway, that's enough about Stranger Things.
Yeah, that's the last we can say. That's the nail in the coffin about Stranger Things.
Unless you want to hear us rant about it in another episode.
No, I don't even want to hear that. I think we'll all be sectioned for it. Yeah, where did I get
cancelled?
Sectioned and cancelled. What more do you want? That's 2020 in a nutshell, isn't it? So I said Ghostbusters and Back to the Future and Lost Boys and Die Hard are also on my list. The one missing, that obviously wasn't on yours, is The Empire Strikes Back. Star Wars, often seen as the best Star Wars film. The only thing I will say about this one is it doesn't... Although it's a brilliant Star Wars film, and there's a lot of people even say it's like one of the greatest films of all time, it's one that's up for debate on my list because it doesn't quite work on its own as well as the others do.
No.
First Star Wars film does. All characters are introduced, and at the end it finishes with the Death Star blowing up. This one pretty much
Spoiler
starts...
alert.
Hey?
Spoiler alert.
Well, it's 50 years old. If you haven't seen it, what have you been doing with your life?
True, but people who go to Topshop would not have seen it.
That's very true.
But then again, nor would they want to see it, really.
No.
That's another
Unless they're
niche
wearing a t-shirt with like Luke Skywalker on it. I've seen them in these shops, and you go, "Oh, do you like Star Wars? What's Star Wars?"
But then they're not the type of people that are like sci-fi stuff.
No, but how much? It's not really hard sci-fi though, is it? It's like I always say about the difference between Star Trek and Star Wars. Star Wars is fighting in space, and Star Trek is philosophy in space. I think if you tried to introduce Star Trek to those sort of people, they would be very bored. Live long and prosper, and all this sort of stuff. I think they would be bored.
Yeah.
But then if you just got, I am your father, and all this sort of stuff, then that's a bit more entertaining.
Yeah.
But again,
it's more of a, I don't know.
I'm actually doubting putting Empire Strikes Back on here now, because even though it's a really good film, one of the best Star Wars films, one of the best 80s films ever, one of the best films ever, it doesn't work on its own. Not really. Because New Hope, like I said, finishes with the Death Star blowing up. For a lot of people, you could just end it there. That's all you need to know. Death Star blow up, a bit more happened, but if you want to leave it at that, sure. Empire Strikes Back starts with the Empire striking back, and you'd be like, who are these guys? And then by the end of it, when your plot twist is, oh my god, Darth Vader is Luke's dad. Well, if you haven't got the build up from the last film, it doesn't really make sense. Ben Kenobi's going around as a ghost, and you'd be like, who's this old guy? Yeah, I'm scratching Empire off my list. Doesn't work on its own.
No, I wouldn't say it would.
No. It's a shame that A New Hope is 77, because that could have been a good filler in. I can't say Empire and Return of the Jedi, because you're still missing a chapter. So yeah, I'm scratching Empire off my list. But I'm still standing by Ghostbusters, Lost Boys, Die Hard, and Back to the Future. So now we can kick in with, well, what are some other ones? Because if I had to compile some of yours, well, I've only got Once Upon a Time in America and
Withnail
and I to choose from.
I mean, they're very niche.
And we've also got the question of, do we want Ghostbusters on there as well? Because pretty much the three that are on both of ours are Back to the Future, Lost Boys, and Die Hard. So pretty much they're cemented in, I'd say. So now we've got a question. Do we want Once Upon a Time in America, Withnail and I, and Ghostbusters on the list? Or do we substitute in something else?
Scrap Once Upon a Time.
Okay. Because there's so many other films that were on neither of our lists. But you would see on a lot of, these are the best films from the 80s. For example, The Goonies. Neither of us even mentioned that. Bunch of kids with sloth taking on evil bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
Iconic characters, iconic lines.
I'd put Goonies in instead of Once Upon a Time in America.
You're going to say Hollywood then, aren't you?
Put
Yeah.
Goonies in
Because it is more iconic, but then the thing we've also got to remember is, well, I was going to say, we're trying to make this a different list, because anybody can go out there and Google best 80s films, and I'm trying to avoid repeating that sort of list, which you would see Ghostbusters, Goonies, blah, blah, blah on there. But then you do got to think, what's more accessible?
Yeah. And I think definitely get rid of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
In wherever it is.
I said Hollywood, then America.
America. Once Upon a Time in somewhere.
Get rid of that one. Not that it's bad or anything, but I think it's a bit niche.
It's not as accessible.
No. I mean, even with the Goonies, you could put that in, and then someone could go, well, then there's kind of the Goonies or Stand By Me. It's like, which one do you prefer? So it's very subjective.
Depends a lot of times with what people are after, because if you were going after the Stranger Things market, I'm not talking about the audience again, but the market for that is more kids together, often adventures.
Yeah.
In which case, well, your ideal films would be The Lost Boys, Goonies, Stand By Me. They'd all be on there. However, if you wanted action, then you've got a whole host of films there. Then you could go for Die Hard. You could go for Terminator. You could go for Lethal Weapon.
See, I was going to put that in mine. Lethal Weapon.
Were you? RoboCop's another one. Predator. A lot of these crossover with horror as well. I actually think Terminator.
Commando.
Yeah, I don't think Commando's making it to any lists.
I think you should put it in the list. It's so
Just to
so
trick
80s.
people.
It's so 80s.
I just couldn't believe when we watched it. I thought it'd be, when we watched Commando, I thought it would be like a Predator type film. It's the fact it's Arnie like going around like as his hard man, but the villain is like this camp guy with a big moustache.
Yeah, leather cap, isn't it? Leather,
yeah,
leather.
And he's like, "Oh, I'm the villain." And we're like, "Are you though?
Yeah.
Are you sure?"
And it's actually weird because it's like 18 rated, isn't it? Rated 18.
Is
I
it?
think. Yeah, it's like, why?
Probably because people are just like, just don't go watch this. Just.
But there's a scene in there when he's like driving the car along that like the cliff thing. I think they like crash. I think they crash the car. Then 1 minute it's like all like
all battered
up. Next minute it's just fine.
Yeah, yeah. Isn't it like one side of the car is like completely scraped and battered, and then as they drive off, it's suddenly fine.
I don't
but then
know.
when they pull in somewhere else again, it's battered again or something like that. I'm sure that was the scene.
I thought they.
It might be the whole car.
I thought it fell off, like it went off the cliff or something, and somehow it survived.
No, I thought
and
it was
they drove off, and it was perfectly fine. I remember watching it with our dad, and he was like, "Did you just see that?"
Yeah, I
it
think
was
it's
literally
so
so obvious.
I thought it was like one side of the car is wrecked, but then when it drives off, it's fine.
I remember the car. It was yellow. It was like a bright yellow car.
Yeah, I remember that. That's what I seem to remember about. Literally, the only things I remember about the film was that the car scene where it's suddenly destroyed and wrecked, and then suddenly it's fine, then it's wrecked again. And then also the village people bad guy. That's literally the only things I remember from it. And safe to say, I haven't revisited it. So Commando is on our ones to avoid list, definitely.
Or if you want to watch a really bad 80s film, watch it.
But don't watch it. I don't recommend it at all. When was Kindergarten Cop? That was 90s, I think, isn't it? That doesn't count.
Early 90s, I reckon. Because it's that kind of... It's still got 80s fashion, but it's the 90s.
Yes, sensibility. Because I'm thinking the action's a bit more... I'm about to say realistic. I mean, how realistic...
Conan.
Don't
worry. Well, I actually quite like Conan.
We've only seen Conan the Destroyer, though. We've never actually seen Conan the Barbarian. But for years, we thought the Destroyer was the Barbarian. So when we found out Grace Jones's weird character wasn't in the first one, we were very surprised.
I actually quite like the second one, though.
No,
when
I do.
He's in the mirrors and he smashes it all.
I want to watch that film again just for that mirror scene and Grace Jones. That also makes me think of, though, Highlander, another great 80s franchise.
Yeah.
Sequel's very questionable. I think it's... I mean, we quite like them, but I do believe Highlander 2 or 3 has 0% on Rotten Tomatoes. 0%. Imagine that.
I mean, I remember the Highlander films. I remember the first one's very good. The second one I wasn't too keen on. Then the third
that must be the
third one I really enjoyed.
We've only got them on VHS as well, doesn't it? That makes it so authentic, doesn't it? Have you got any other reserve ones that you think would...
I've just googled it now.
Be an honourable mention.
And I'm going to say Beetlejuice.
Beetlejuice is on my reserves.
48 Hours.
48? I don't even remember that. I know the title.
It's Nick Nolte and Eddie Murphy, two cops, and they have 48 hours to get these criminals, basically.
Yeah. If you're unlocking the buddy cop genre, then there's a whole load there, isn't there? Off the top of my head, I can only think of Lethal Weapon, but I know there's loads of them.
But 48 Hours I'm going to put in the reserve.
As a reserve list. So, Remember so really...
That? 48 Hours?
Oh, it does ring a bell, actually.
It's good. It's what you want. It's Eddie Murphy, for Christ's sake.
King of the SNL era.
Comedy stuff.
Yeah.
Action comedy stuff.
So really, so we've got our main list so far still is just Back to the Future, Lost Boys, Die Hard, potentially Goonies on there. So we need a fifth one there, but we're also putting together a reserve list now.
Yeah.
Which could be, once you've achieved the 5, here is more 5, in which case I would still say Beetlejuice, we've both just said that one. 48 Hours apparently is on there now.
Well, I think that's very good. I think it's...
We could even put Withnail on the reserve.
Also, you got to think about iconic things that has come from the 80s, like Tom Hanks, for instance. Like
I've got bigs on my reserve list.
Yeah.
There's just so many.
There's too many.
And now you've said SNL. You didn't say SNL, but you said Eddie Murphy, and I've thought of the whole SNL thing. It's like things like Blues Brothers, we're not even a big fan of, but people would put that on their list. The Pope said recently that's a Catholic classic film.
The Pope?
The Pope said it's a Catholic classic because it's about Well, it's people on a pilgrimage from God, isn't it? To
Yeah.
spread the blues. But as a big Bill Murray fan, there's a whole load of films there I could put on.
Bill Murray at Christmas.
Bill Murray. Bill Murray at Christmas. I still remember when we watched that on Netflix, and we were like, what is this? And I said, it's Bill Murray singing Christmas songs. And you're like, no, of course it isn't. I was like, no, trust me, it's Bill Murray singing Christmas songs. We put it on, and whatever the opening song is, but it's just Bill Murray sat at the piano, and we're like, I can't believe what I'm watching here.
That'd be quite good, though, isn't it?
It's highly rated.
Maybe I should give it another go this Christmas.
At this Christmas, I'm going to put it on. There's a whole load of films. I was about to say Meatballs, but I want to say I actually think that's 1979. But that's a great, fun...
Spaceballs.
We're going for Meatballs at this one. That's a fun summer camp film. And he plays... Well, it's Bill Murray, so he just plays a manic sort of camp advisor. That's not a camp advisor. Like, oh, Ducky, but I mean a camp advisor. That's a good film. Stripes is a good one from Bill Murray. It's on Netflix at the moment. It's got John Candy in it.
Uncle Buck as well. That could be fun.
Uncle Buck. Is it 80s or 90s?
Got to be 80s.
80s, I think, actually.
It's not 90s at all. Or if it is, it'd be like the 1st of January. Because it's a Christmas film, isn't it?
Yeah, true. I think it is 80s, actually. But it just feels like it could be that.
1989.
Yeah. Right on the cusp, then. So yeah, I was close.
Still an 80s film, because it's very 80s.
Because I've got Batman on my reserve list, but I thought, does that count? Because that's 1989, doesn't it?
Yeah, I say, well, 89. Doesn't really matter the year, does it? As long as 80s.
True. Because like in the same way that 89 actually feels more like the 90s, in the same way that 1980 feels a bit more like the 70s.
Yeah, it's that crossover period. So the fashion's still the same. Like, does that, like 2020, it's the same as
2019.
But in like 3 years' time, everything will be different.
Yeah.
You'll be wearing different clothes. I'll be wearing different clothes.
Yeah. Maybe shoulder pads will come back. Apparently fashion revolves every 20... No, what do they say? I heard this on Lorraine recently. Fashion revolves every 20 years. So I thought, oh, does that mean pop punk's coming back?
I hope not. I really hope
in
not.
A few years' time, theoretically, we'll be wearing the fashion of 20 years ago. According to whatever his name is, who does the fashion items on Lorraine.
Camp Spud.
Camp Spud, as I call him.
I'm not sure that's homophobic or not. But...
Well, it's not really. It's just Spud from Train Spotting, but a camp version. Yeah. It's fine. Yeah, he says fashion revolves every 20 years. So I thought, well, that means we'll get baggy jeans coming back. Those, those t-shirts. It's like a t-shirt over a t-shirt, but it's all a long sleeve.
It's all one t-shirt.
Yeah, a short sleeve t-shirt over a long sleeve t-shirt, but it's all one. So I thought, oh my God, they're coming back. I thought I can start spiking my hair again.
Jeans with them like Simon Cowell pointy shoes.
Yeah, the noughties are coming back, baby.
Yeah,
they're going to be watching our 80s films and listening to pop punk. Well, not necessarily listening to pop punk, but then again, when 80s fashion came back not long ago, and a lot of stuff people were wearing, again, a lot of it due to Stranger Things actually, but a lot of people wearing 80s sort of clothes again, started listening to the music again.
They didn't really listen to the music.
No, they listened to the Spotify. This is the
Rick
80s.
Astley, which is crap anyway.
Yeah, when people are like going, oh my God, I love Rick Astley. Never gonna give you up. And I'm like, but it's crap. It was crap, but it was released. And they go, nah, it's a classic. I'm like, no, it's crap.
That could be a separate episode, actually.
I think that's going to be Series 2, Episode 2.
Going back to the list then.
List so far we have is, of course, Back to the Future, The Lost Boys, and Die Hard. We've established 48 Hours is also on there.
Maybe that could be on the second list.
Well, I'm just doing the whole list in general. Or do you want to do the essential and then reserve?
I'll do essential.
Okay, so we'll go for essential. Ghostbusters. No, not Ghostbusters. I'm just reading that list. Back to the Future, Lost Boys, Die Hard.
Yep.
What were the other ones we said? Goonies.
Goonies on that, definitely.
Yeah. And Beetlejuice or Ghostbusters?
Ghostbusters.
Ghostbusters. There are essential 5. So you've got to the end of this now, and you've gone, oh my God, boys, I could have Googled that. But Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Lost Boys. Actually, Lost Boys and Die Hard, I think, are 2 that wouldn't necessarily be on there.
No.
So I think that is a good one. Because I think Lost Boys, although it is an iconic 80s film, it feels underrated.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is about it. It feels underrated. Like, people think of the 80s, they don't think of Lost Boys, where it's such a good... I mean, yeah, it's vampires and sort of gothic here and there, but that can still appeal to a lot of people.
Yeah, definitely.
It's not, I want to suck your blood vampire, which turns a lot of people off. This is cool.
It's more...
vampires. With the sunglasses lying around in the rooms going, don't talk to me, man.
And it's cool. It is cool.
It is,
I think
it's
cool.
the epitome of 80s cool.
It is. And it's like the Twilight thing, but when it was... Before it turned romantic and
weird.
weird, and the original kind of that, isn't it? Because isn't there a werewolf in Lost Boys? Or have I just made that up?
Not that I can think of.
No, I don't think. I think
you're thinking of American Werewolf in London now.
But no, Lost Boys is definitely cool, and that's why not many people know about it.
Yeah, because they're not cool.
And it's the coolest vampire film you'll ever come across.
Definitely. So that has definitely got to be on there.
Definitely.
Even, like I said, Die Hard might not necessarily be on those top 10 lists, but it's an essential action film. It is. If you haven't seen Die Hard,
watch it.
What are you, really?
Watch all of them.
Well, watch the first 2, maybe 3. So that's our 5.
So then the reserve 5.
We now go in with 48 Hours.
48 Hours.
Beetlejuice.
Withnail.
I think that's worthy of being on there.
Withnail and I.
For a more art house. For the people the cool arty people that like Lost Boys,
that'd be good.
Then they go straight on to Withnail. Last 2.
If you want to go even weirder, if you want to put another weird one in there, we'll just go for Brazil.
Brazil's on my reserve list. Should we say Brazil? Freak people out with Brazil. Terry Gilliam.
That is best.
I was about to say Terry Gilliam masterpiece, but it's just... It's not even the right word for it. There isn't a word for Brazil.
It makes...
And I can't even sum it up.
Makes no sense.
Somebody gets a clerical error, gets murdered, a plumber comes in to save the day, while a woman gets plastic surgery, they eat digital food, there's a terrorist organisation, and a best friend psycho murderer. Bob Hoskins as a repairman. Robert De Niro as an assassin type thing. There's no way I can describe this film without sounding insane.
And then it ends and it's the most... I don't even know. It's the most
then you have to watch it again.
disturbing thing ever.
Yeah. And you have to,
faces.
Yeah, because you immediately have to watch it again and go, what the hell did I just watch? But it's incredible. I love it.
It's very good. Very, very good.
Very good. So that's got to be on there. That's got to be in our reserve.
So that's...
Freak people out. We're basically freaking people out of this list because you've got your essentials, which are generic sort of films.
Yeah.
But your essentials, we're going for Withnail, or your reserves rather, we're going Withnail and Brazil. Let's see how much people can take.
We've got one more.
Do we? 48 Hours, Withnail, Beetlejuice. I love Beetlejuice so much. I watched it back recently. It doesn't get old, that film. It really doesn't.
Been a long time since I've seen it.
It's on Netflix, I think. You should give it another go. It's such fun.
Such
fun. Anyway,
get back to
for the last film in this list, what are we going to go for? Because there's so many contenders, but things that I would debate. For example, like I said earlier, Terminator is one that I'd go, oh, of course. But it isn't Terminator 2. And if Terminator 2 was released in the 80s, oh, absolutely it'd be on this list. But Terminator 1's good, but it's just not...
doesn't hit the mark.
No.
Much,
I mean, I watched it again not long ago. Enjoyed it a lot more than I did when... Obviously, when we were young, we watched it like the age of 8, you know.
You shouldn't have
we shouldn't have done. But, you know, at the same time, get them while they're young. But I watched that again recently and really enjoyed it. But especially because, like, I actually think the Terminator films are about Sarah Connor. I think it's her story more than anything.
Well, I thought it was all about John Connor, really, and then they've just killed John Connor off, haven't they?
Well,
I'm not going to go there.
I like
that film. That winds me up.
But I think, well, it's the story of keeping Sarah Connor safe in order for John Connor, isn't it?
But then you're going to kill John Connor anyway.
We'll just forget about that one for the moment. Whereas I think Sarah Connor, we know when you think of Sarah Connor, what do you think of? Badass woman with a gun over her shoulder. She's not that in the first one. She's like helpless. Oh, Kyle, come and save me. That's what she's in the first film. And even though it's a good film, and actually, I think there's more argument to suggest Terminator for the first one is a horror film more than an action or a sci-fi. Because it's actually, when I watched it, I completely forgot about it's sort of like it's essentially a slasher film, really. He's more of a Michael Myers figure than he is a John McClane, because he goes back into the 80s, whatever year it is, I'm not sure. But he literally opens the phone book, looks at all the Sarah Connor addresses, just murders them all.
That's just evil, isn't it?
And I just go, there's Sarah Connor, murder her. There's a Sarah Connor, murder her. And there's a scene where I don't know what happened to my voice then.
You sound like an Asian then, Sarah Connor.
Yeah, that's a very different film. That's the Bollywood reboot. And there's a scene where our Sarah Connor, she's sitting in a bar. Our Sarah, I've gone all northern.
Sat in the bar.
Our Sarah's in bar. And she's watching TV. And she just sees this news report where it's like, Sarah Connor's been murdered. Another Sarah Connor's been murdered. Bit of a theme here. And she's sitting there like, I'm next, aren't I? And that's just actually terrifying. Because imagine you in that situation. Not that there are many Aidan Gulas or Stanley Gulas out there, or that phone books exist anymore,
or that a
robot from the future is coming to murder you. But imagine you're in this very niche situation where you're watching the news. It's like, Stanley Gula's dead. Stanley Gula's dead. Yeah. Stanley Gula's dead. You got a bit of a theme there. I should probably hide. So, I mean, I was about to say it's a contender, but it's not, because I wouldn't put it on there. Even though it's a great film, Terminator 2 is better, and I will always take that one over the first one. So it depends really what genre do you want to go into from here. We've got a buddy cop with, I don't know why I suddenly can't talk. We've got a buddy cop with 48 Hours, so we don't need Lethal Weapon.
No.
What else have we got? We've got actions. Maybe avoid that. I don't know. I'm tempted to go more down the horror road with this one, but we've got Lost Boys.
Mm-hmm.
And Beetlejuice, that sort of covers it. Maybe go for just a fun one. Airplane. Naked Gun.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a good idea for this slot. What are you laughing at?
Naked Gun. I'm laughing at Naked Gun.
What, are you just thinking about it?
I'm just Googling it, and
it's just making you giggle.
Leslie Nielsen, Priscilla Presley as well, isn't it?
Yeah.
And also
O.J. Simpson, but we don't mention that one. No, I bought...
Weird Al Yankovic is in it as well, isn't he?
Is he as what? I can't remember him.
He's Weird Al.
Yeah, who's Weird Al in the... I don't remember it. Even though I watched it not long ago, and I've bought the box set with all three, I don't remember him in it. No, yes, actually, you know what? Sorry, I'm putting Naked Gun. I want to put Naked Gun in this slot.
Yeah.
Because that is... I mean, I love farce comedy. Farce comedy is my favourite comedy.
Yeah.
Where you've got an absolutely ridiculous situation, but done dead straight, like it's the most serious thing ever. For example, in Naked Gun, where firework factory explodes and everybody's stood on the street as all this fireworks going off all over everywhere, and everybody's looking at it going, oh my god, wow. And he just shows up, Leslie Nielsen, as, what's his character name? Is it Frank Drebin?
Yeah.
The detective, and he just shows up and he goes, nothing to see here, nothing to see here, as there's this massive explosion behind him. And also, what's the other bit that makes me laugh? It's similar like that. Oh, when he gets out his car and he leaves that, doesn't put the handbrake on, so the car rolls down the hill, and he thinks it's somebody chasing him, so he starts shooting at his own car. Like, it's such a ridiculous situation, but it's done so seriously.
I'll actually go and watch that again.
I thought about watching Naked Gun 2 the other night, but yeah. Oh, that's got to go in. There's just so many funny scenes from it that it's just... And it's such a good comedy. From going to film school, I know that a lot of people do know Airplane, which is another great Leslie Nielsen comedy. A man who found his fame very late in life and did very well off it. But Naked Gun, oh my god.
It's so funny.
There's just the more scenes you think of from that film, the funnier it gets.
I always think with comedies is, just think about comedies in general, it's like some kind of comedies are funny, but sometimes you may love the film, but every time you watch it, it gets less and less funny.
Yeah.
But Naked Gun, it's consistently funny every time you watch it.
It's one of those, I think the best comedies are the most quotable comedies. The ones that you can just slip in a line here and there that you just, like, I could just talk to you and just say, like, that obviously a bit rude, but you just go, nice beaver. And I know we'd
Yeah.
both be laughing. It's those sort of films where you can just say a line from it and you know it'll be funny. And my God, Naked Gun's full of them. It's slapstick and it's ridiculous. Like, I mean, yeah, O.J. Simpson, bit problematic, but especially if he's got gloves. But like that scene where he gets onto the boat and everybody's pointing guns at him, but they don't shoot him once because he just like, he steps in a trap and then he falls onto this and then he falls onto that and then he gets hit by this and then he manages to fall off the boat without like, I think he obviously does get shot, but like that's not what kills him. I mean, he doesn't actually technically get killed, does he? Because then he's in the hospital later on. Oh, that's just brilliant.
And is that the film when, what's the opening title of that film? Is it the car?
It's the car
And
driving through
that's just
ridiculous
brilliant,
situations.
isn't
Yeah, like you follow. Cause it's based on TV series, isn't it? Part of the Police Squad, I think, was the series, which didn't do very well. It only ran for a series. But then they made the film, and I believe the title is from the series. I could be wrong on that, but I believe that's all right. But it's just that following the light on top of that police car through varying situations. It's like just driving through the street normally, sure, but then it's in like the showers, and then it's like going up a lift or something, just ridiculous. And it just keeps going everywhere, and it's just oh, it's brilliant. That's got to be in our list, hasn't it?
Yeah.
For comedies, not only is it a good 80s comedy, not only is it a good slapstick comedy, but it's just a good comedy. And it's got to be in the list.
Yeah, that's definitely going in the list.
Yeah. So we have our 10 now then, don't we? To recap, before we end, if you are somebody out there who's like, you know what, I've got a bit of time on my hands. I know we're sort of time is a bit wrong because nobody's in lockdown anymore. But you're like, you know what, let's watch some good 80s films.
But you know, it's near bad weather now, so over weekend you can just watch these.
And be like, let's delve into the 80s. Of course, you've got your essential ones. Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Die Hard, Lost Boys, and whatever the other one was that we said.
Say again?
Ghostbusters, Back to the Future, Die Hard, Lost Boys.
Goonies.
Of course, they're an essential 5. If you haven't seen them, I'm sure you're aware you haven't seen them. They're those sort of films. I know people that go, I've never seen Back to the Future, who I immediately push off a bridge. But there are people that know they haven't seen this film. So they are the type of films that go away and watch them. Of course. Then you've got 5 more 80s films that are like, these aren't as well known. You may have heard the title before, but not necessarily have seen it. And they are, of course, 48 Hours, which is a very interesting choice from you. Withnail and I, which is also a very good choice from you. Beetlejuice, which a lot of people know, but perhaps might not have seen. Oh my God, I've forgotten what the other one was. Brazil. Freak people out.
Yeah.
I think that's a good list we've got there.
Yeah. I think it is, actually.
This has been Beyond Their Years. I've been Aidan Gula.
I've been Stanley Gula.
Join us next time, where I think we're going to go for the same sort of list with 80s music in some format or the other. So join us then.
Goodbye. I winked at you for some reason, didn't I?
Yeah, well, this is an audio format. Goodbye. What's that all about?
I thought I did a cheesy 80s wink. You can't just see me.
No. Don't forget to share this podcast with all your friends, family, and as we established in Series 1, do not share it with your dog. But, as I said, this has been Beyond Their Years. We're available on Anchor FM, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, YouTube, basically anywhere you can think a podcast would be. We are available. Please share it. Season 2 is back. We are back. Thank you for listening.